Hey folks, in day 2 we read chapter 4 of the text and it covers creating a simple page. And I'd like to kind of go through my own take on this. That is sort of a supplement for this because when you're getting started you don't know often where to start, but I found some techniques that are pretty handy. Now the chapter introduces XHTML or transitional HTML elements and attributes. Those are the ones that are going to be used in both HTML5, HTML4. They'll work. Browsers generally gracefully degrade, which means they'll work back to the oldest viable element. They'll parse these older versions. You just want to make sure you use HTML5 elements whenever they're available. So in the chapter, and you'll see the video from the author, there's a step-by-step demo, which is very helpful. But it also covers document structures, basic text and image elements, and a simple style sheet, and then some troubleshooting. So what I'd like to say is that generally, and let me just move this up so you get to see the whole screen, every web page starts with content. So I know professionally when I'm on the job, I usually work with designers, and designers will give me the designs, and the content will be part of that design. It might come into a text field, in a text file, the content, because it may come from the client. But if we start with the content, it's always a good idea. Then we want to give the document some structure, figure out what goes where. Third step would be to identify the text elements, and then add any imagery, multimedia elements, things like that. And lastly, we change our look with our CSS. This is a very base level approach to this, but it's one that anyone can understand. So focus on content, then structure, then identify what's going to be text where, and then add your imagery, and then focus on the aesthetics or changing the look. Okay, so let's talk about the content. If you type your content and simply view it in a browser, you'll notice that line breaks are completely ignored. Tabs, multiple spaces, completely ignored. Anything that the browser doesn't understand with a markup would be ignored too. And if you have HTML comments, those will be ignored as well. So that's an important part of this, because if we have content typed, we can copy and paste that as long as it's text formatted. So let's talk about the structure. Well, we've learned already about HTML elements, that there's an opening tag and a closing tag. And here we see, straight from the book, an example, H1 tag with Black Goose Bistro. That's going to be your header. So when we give document structure, H1 is a block level element, and it'll have a break. So we would focus on the header, probably center it, possibly go flush left or float left. Step 2 is providing that structure. So we have our opening HTML tag, our head tags, our title tags, body tags, and our content would go in there. So if we just took that content and pasted it inside the body tag, we're on our way. But you want to start with a template and a good title. So next, we want to make sure all our tags are lowercase, all our elements and attributes are lowercase, and always to use double quotation marks for attribute values. You can use single quotes and it'll validate. So feel free to use either, but as long as the opening tag is a single or double quote, the second closing quote needs to be the same. So if you're using single quotes, stick with it. If you're using double quotes, stick with those. Also make sure your HTML elements are always closed, whether they're closed self-closing or if they're pairs with closing tags, they need to be closed. So don't use tables for layout, use style sheets. That's another definite tip for this. So when we identify our text elements and focus on semantic markup, we focus on our block level elements. Block level elements are the ones that have an immediate break. So if I put an H1 tag on that one line, there will be nothing else on that line because you are doing a block level element. And so subheadings, H2s to H6, those are all block level elements. Paragraphs are always block level elements as well. Inline elements, those will be things that actually style the text, like an EM tag, which is an emphasized text. A hyperlink, that's inline. Comments, HTML comments like you see before. All those things are inline. Well, actually, comments aren't even seen, but you feel free to make as many comments as you need inside that. And when you make comments and you submit your work via this Blackboard, I can see those comments and I can give you feedback if necessary. So also be aware that all browsers have their own built-in style sheets that describe the default rendering of HTML elements. Those are usually margins, and you can see them inside Chrome Tools. I'm going to pause the video and do a demo. So what we're looking at right now is Chrome Tools. I'm going to make sure that we can close this out and get it out of the way. Hopefully we can minimize this. Always fun when your computer doesn't react to what you're pressing on. But I'm just going to move that out of the way here and click that. Doesn't seem like it wants to behave. But anyway, I'm using Sublime Text, and this is what you see. You see an HTML document. So let's say we did, the Grey Goose Bistro. This is what I'm talking about by creating content. You put the content inside here. But in the last PowerPoint slide, we were focusing on being aware of their own built-in style sheets describing the default rendering of HTML elements. And it's true, they exist. So when I hit the body tag here, you're going to see margin of 8 pixels. And the fact is, I didn't write that code. There's no CSS in this document, but it's called a user agent style sheet. So again, when you want to see what styles are affecting your HTML, simply highlight the text in Chrome and then Control-click, and you'll see Inspect. And we're inspecting the body tag here, and that is literally a user agent style sheet. That's CSS that the browser is rendering. So now back to our presentation, and I'll probably be bouncing around back and forth on that because it's just much easier to show you instead of going through a PowerPoint. But those are the built-in style sheets that we have to be aware of, and often we'll just reset those. So step 4 is when you add your multimedia. So if you got your content like this, and you add image source, bird, whatever, that's after you create your content. So once you get your content down, you add your image. And I'm in presenter view. I apologize for that. Let me do slideshow. And we'll get back to this. So once you add your image, now you have the time to create CSS aesthetics. And this is step 5, set the look. So in this example, we have the Black Goose Bistro. We have CSS, and inside that CSS, we can maybe make the body tag have a background color, font family sans serif, H1, etc. And we can set that look. So let's go ahead and take this. I'm trying to make sure it's text. It may not be. It's actually a picture. So let's say we did body background color or whatever, and I'll just add that. So what we would do is go ahead and add our aesthetics, and in this case it's internal. Type text /CSS, and we're applying a style to the body tag, and I could do a background color. In this case, you grab your property, and I'm using Sublime, and I had mentioned the fact that it has auto hinting, which is great. And now I can hit this, and you can see that the background is red. Real juvenile, but the fact is that it's step 5 to add styles after you have your multimedia elements there and your text set up. So that said, go back to the slideshow real quick and go back to our set the look. So our troubleshooting. Well, when you have HTML tags and things aren't working, you can always inspect the element, but make sure your tags are all closed. Make sure that the ending tag is always there, and make sure that the brackets are at the right angle. Okay, so again, if I go back to my Sublime here, and I can't stand that background color, so I'm going to comment it out. This is how you can make comments in CSS. But like right here, if I do a p tag like this, okay, and I don't do p tag correctly again, and I view it in the browser, which is right here, I don't see any problem here. You'll see here on the right, I've had that commented out, which is why that has the line in it, but you can't tell if there's an issue. So the only way at first when you get started with this is if you have problems, like let's say we wanted to make actual paragraphs of content. So what I might do is go to lorem ipsum and just get some base copy. This is a nice generator for lorem ipsum if you want to mess with text. So something like this, okay? And let's say I do just take a few paragraphs or something, just like we were talking about in this lesson, and making sure that you have copy like this. So when you see something like this and you go to our thing, you see it looks completely different, right? But then you might want to come in here like this and do a p tag there, and maybe open up another, maybe do an h1 tag like this. If I'm assigned to create something similar looking to what we do. And our paragraph tags are looking good, so I can go back here like this. And now it's looking a little bit better, right? I've got some structure. But then you might see a p tag here and another p tag here. So those are both opening tags. And then you get a closing tag here like this, and things aren't the way you expect them to be. Okay? So then you can actually do the inspection. But what you can also do is validate, and validate that code for troubleshooting. And I'm going to go just take this code, and I'm going to go to my HTML5 new validator. And once I do this, I should see this link up, and when I do text input, we can see that there should be, there we go. So we have opening p tag and another opening p tag, which are nested, but you don't see any error at all. But what you do see is down here, you can take a good look and make sure that your eyes are closing each one. And that would tell you the missing slashes, which is why on this section, is there a missing slash? Is there a missing ending tag? In my case, there is. So this is an in-class assignment that, part of the exercise for today. Obviously, you don't have to submit it. I'm looking for just homework assignments to be submitted. But if we do take a look at this from the slide, we do see an image that's a logo on the left, and we see a header, and we see a horizontal rule, an HR tag. Then we see H1 tags, and then they have a color of blue, a background of sort of violet, and then we see our text. So it's a nice lesson if you feel uncomfortable to make this. You don't have to submit it, but it's the process of how we would create our initial first web pages.